All right, good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are. Welcome to another RISSB MasterClass Webinar. And today we've got one titled Sharing Safety Ideas to Make a Change, to be presented by Sarah Conway from RTC. I'll introduce Sarah in a moment, but firstly I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where we meet today. And for me, Adelaide, that's the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains. To pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who might be with us today. As I said, today's speaker is Sarah Conway, who's ARTC's manager for the Central and Northwest at the Australian Rail Track Corporation. Sarah's based in the Hunter Valley and has worked closely with frontline teams to drive the company's commitment to safer and more efficient operations. A passionate leader focused on empowering frontline teams to deliver. Sarah has also extensive experience in integrated supply chains, including at Rio Tinto, where she worked for nearly 12 years prior to joining ARTC. So just before I hand over to Sarah, just a reminder for those online, if you have any questions, just put them into the Teams chat. Keep it respectful, as we know you will. And we'll take the opportunity to circle back to Sarah at the end of the presentation to address some of those questions. So without any further delay, I'd like to hand over to Sarah. Thank you.
Thanks, Damien. Thanks so much for the warm introduction. So as Damien said, my name's Sarah Conway and I'm the maintenance manager for the Central Northwest within the Australian Rail Track Corporation. And while you might have me here today, it's really important that I recognise and celebrate this work that's been truly developed and kept alive every day by our Hunter Valley WH&S committee team members. This program's also been really well supported by our leaders, which has enabled growth and sustainable success. So I also don't want to miss the opportunity to thank our leadership team. First and foremost, and before we get into the details about the program, in the spirit of reconciliation, I'd just like to acknowledge that we're all dialing in from different places and take the time to recognise the traditional custodians of each of those places and their deep connection to land, sea and community. So here at ARTC, we're very, very passionate about maintaining an efficient and effective railway network. Equally, we're also very passionate about ensuring that each of our people get home in the same way, if not better, than the way that they come to work each and every day. A safe workplace is absolutely critical to success. It's how we protect our people, our partners, and the communities in which we operate. Safety within the ARTC organisation is owned by everyone on all levels, and this program truly speaks to the safety ownership across those levels, really being driven by our WH&S committee, who are paving the way for the future. So before I go into too much detail, I thought I'd take you on a little bit of a journey and step back 18 months or 2 years, 18 months to 2 years ago. And at that point in time, we had a committee within the Hunter Valley team who we had about 5 representatives from our Hunter Valley provisioning centres. So those are our frontline maintenance teams, including infrastructure maintainers and signal electricians. And at the time, while all of those involved were very passionate about optimising safety, it was continuing to become a really challenging environment where we often heard about issues that sometimes line leaders hadn't had the opportunity to be able to work through with their team members. So we were really seeking an opportunity to make safety positive, to enable and promote sharing, ultimately reducing our risk within our workplaces every day, not just within our provisioning centres, but within the broader Hunter Valley part of the ARTC business. So After quite some deliberation, we knew we needed a safety improvement initiative, and we wanted to bring together some of what was happening, which was there was some sharing of some really great ideas. That looked like verbal sharing with those 5 people around a table once every couple of months. What that process didn't clearly enable was really easy replication of these safety improvement ideas so that we could reduce that same risk across every one of our workplaces where that risk or that hazard was relevant. So in February 23, our frontline team members, being our WH&S committee, developed the Make a Change initiative. And what that program did was encourage workers to be able to share and celebrate successful safety improvements. So not only do our WHS committee members bring the improvements for their areas to the broader WHS team, they then as a group, they vote on a winner for each meeting. The program focused on 3 key areas, being simple, effective, and low cost improvements. So these don't have to be massive safety improvements. These are really simple everyday things that our teams are already doing in most circumstances, but gives an opportunity to be able to share and replicate. So while some of these things we absolutely do every day, some of them are out, while they're simple, they're also quite out of the box. And thinking about not just how can I improve this for my team, but how this might be applicable for others. So in the development and the initial stages, what we were looking to build was we were looking to increase engagement, create strong personal safety behaviours, reduce our risk, scale the improvements across our teams within the Hunter Valley part of the organisation, and team-driven outcomes. So we were really looking for the teams to take ownership every day with every task. So we started with 3 key principles. Those were, and I mentioned them briefly before, but really, really simple things. And I'll share some of the improvements that have been made in a few minutes. But this was really important to success. It couldn't be overly complex or overly complicated in order to be easily scalable and easily replicable in other places. We wanted to ensure it was low cost. Therefore, our teams could go out and do these things. And in some circumstances, there was minimal, if any, cost involved with some of the different nominations we've had. And ultimately, it was effective. So the aim for us is to absolutely reduce our safety risk on every task, every day, so that our people go home in the same way, if not better, than the way they came to work. So we developed a really simple tool for nominations, and it was it's a one slider that has a before and an after, a quick, couple of dot points for each and a picture for each to demonstrate the before and what the before looked like, and the after and what that looked like. Where we can, we link it back to incidents that may have occurred or hazards that we have within our system. And the WH&S committee members work with their teams and their leaders to understand the idea or the improvement opportunity, develop what that change will look like. They then document it, they send it through to our WH&S committee chairperson, who captures them all, and then the chair shares them back at our bi-monthly meetings. So that's 6 meetings a year where the WH&S committee come together and share their safety improvement initiatives that are happening within their workplaces. At that meeting, the team will vote on the best new idea, and to provide a bit of extra incentive, we've also done a prize. We give out a prize to those people who were involved in that piece of work. All of those nominations are shared back with the broader business, so not only with the WH&S committee members, but back with our all of our Hunter Valley organisation. And that provides an opportunity for others, leaders and others, to be able to see these firsthand, pick them up and look to do the same things within their teams. The WH&S committee team members also take these initiatives back to their teams to share. So I mentioned earlier that we started with 5 committee members. Through this program, we've really been able to focus positively on safety. And we're now at the point where we have people asking to be a part of the WH&S committee, which is a significant change from where we were, and absolutely for the better. Not only do we include the Hunter Valley provisioning centres now, we also have our network operations team, our resurfacing team, our engineering teams, and so forth. So we have included all of those teams within the organisation that would like to be involved, and really continue to encourage other teams that aren't yet as involved as we would love them to be. We're now over 20 people strong within the committee, all focusing and talking really positively about safety in the field and how we can continue to improve how we work every day so that every person gets to go home to their family and friends. In 2023, we ended up with 23 nominations. So prior to this, as I mentioned earlier, it was a verbal sharing. There was no formal tracking of the improvements that were being made through bi-monthly meetings. So 6 meetings a year, we've ended up with 23 nominations. Now that's just not nominations. Those nominations, remember, are safety changes within all of our teams. The nominations are the opportunities for other teams to pick up those same changes and implement them within their work areas and within their teams where it's relevant to them. What we have also seen is, by the introduction of other teams such as network control or network operations, we have significantly improved our cross collaboration between our frontline maintenance teams and our operations teams. So the level of discussion and the content of the discussion has significantly changed to a place where we are absolutely working better together than we ever have before. These are a few of the nominations that came through in 2023. So we'll go through some in a little bit more detail. So I won't talk through all of these individually on this slide. So this one here on the left is a working at heights pole cleaner. So before, when I said one of our key principles was being simple and cost effective, this is something that the team could go to Bunnings and buy for not much at all. This has enabled our teams to not be required to climb the signal ladders, which, as you may know, increases our risk of working at heights exposure. So by the team having this long-handled tool to clean the signal from the ground, we have completely eliminated that working at heights risk. The bottle belts is something that our teams commonly, some of our team members commonly notice on work sites is some water, water bottles laying around, or not having easy access to your water, or not knowing whose water is who. So the bottle belts are a really simple solution to being able to have your water really handy, particularly in those summer months where we absolutely are concerned about dehydration. Hard hat coolers is another one that is absolutely more utilised in summer than winter, but enables supporting the body to remain cool and not heat. The emergency point flags is a solution that one of our teams came up with. It makes, where on some work sites we might have multiple vehicles, having this flag makes it really easy to identify the emergency point. This is something that our teams identify in their pre-task risk assessments or their worksite protection plans or their supervisor tools, to ensure that every person on that site understands where they need to go in an emergency. Without this, all you would see at a work site is a number of ARTC vehicles that all look the same. So this really gives an opportunity for a vehicle to stand out, ensuring that every one of those team members not only hears that through the pre-work brief, but is then able to really quickly and easily identify should they need it. So this next one, look up and live signage, is again not an original solution. It's actually something that our teams and every one of you may notice when you drive past, construction workplaces, particularly different roadworks, and you might see this yellow look up and live person cut out in the background. You might see those under power lines and other things. So a solution that was already out there and was triggered through hazard identification and incidents, to look for a solution to easily identify where we have power lines within our work sites, because every one of our work sites is different. And the team could get called out to any location within the network at any time of the day. So defibrillators for vehicles, we have defibrillators in our office buildings commonly, but where we didn't have them was in vehicles, which meant that we were unable, in the event of an emergency, unable to support our teams who might be working in remote locations. So this solution gave us that ability, and hopefully we never need to use them, but if we do, we know that we're prepared, enabling more effective medical treatment and time. The final one here is a vehicle height access sticker. So again, a really, really simple solution, but all of our vehicles are different heights. And our people travel throughout New South Wales. What this sticker does is when you jump in and out of different vehicles, you've got a really, really easy reference point on how high that vehicle is, so you can understand which bridges you might be able to go under or not pass through. If you're going into different parking areas to access different assets, etc., you're really clear on what your limitations are. So again, a really simple solution that gives our team members the information when they need it. So from this program, I mentioned before, we've had 23 nominations in the first year, which is a significant difference from where we were in 2022. Our engagement has significantly increased from a place of us having to nominate people to be a part of our WH&S committee to people nominating themselves and putting their hand up and asking how they can get involved. The feel of what the WHS committee does is significantly more active and very different than where we were prior. Our collaboration amongst teams and our cross-pollination has significantly improved by being able to bring those teams together once every 2 months to talk through different incidents, different events, and ultimately safety improvements. Our teams are focused on solving the problems that they have in the field. Our frontline teams are absolutely the people with the answers, and now those team members are the ones driving the solution. Our employees are recognised for the great work that they do every day. Being able to formalise this really supported us to recognise and reward our people. And it's improved our leadership visibility. So our leaders come together as part of this meeting to be able to best support our teams. So that's all I had for today, and I'll hand back to you, Damien, for any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. And I forgot to mention at the start, Sarah and her team won a RISSB Safety Award for Frontline Worker Safety Initiative during our safety conference a couple of months ago. So well done on that again. There's quite a number of questions. Let me just sort of try and filter a few. One that's just come on. What was the total size of the workforce that brought forward the 23 nominations? Yeah, so all up, we would be talking about just under 500 people. Okay. Across a range of different professions and skill sets. So from our infrastructure maintainers and our signal electricians to our network control operators to our engineers and our short-term planners and our resurfacing teams. It's a very broad group of all of our roles within the Hunter Valley team. Okay. And on the last slide, I don't recall seeing this fact here, and maybe you don't want to sort of overtly acknowledge it, but I can't help but think encouraging ideas, empowering people for solutions, to develop solutions, simple solutions, they're pretty valuable building blocks to building a more broader safety culture. I know that sort of word's used a lot, but here's solutions for, and some great solutions there, particularly the cleaning the signal lenses. I would expect that's getting people to be thinking about better ways to doing things, which, as I say, would have been I expect sort of a foundational building block of a safety culture. Do you want to comment on that? Either sort of, yes, that's what you've seen or expected at ARTC, or even draw upon your experience elsewhere? Yeah, no worries, Damien. Absolutely, this has been a cultural shift for us. When I talk about the change in engagement and the change in people and our teams wanting to be active in the safety space, that is 100% the change in safety culture as a result of this program, by positively talking about safety, coming up with the solutions that are frontline driven, and being recognised for the effort that the teams have taken. That is absolutely all influencing our safety culture across our business. Excellent, thank you. Another one's just come through on the chat line. Have any of the ideas been about engineering out hazards rather than just working more safely within the infrastructure they find themselves working with? I think the again, the one with the extended brush for cleaning lenses, you've eliminated the hazard of working at heights, I think, in that particular one. But are there any others that come to mind where you've been able to eliminate hazards?
Yeah, there are, and the controls and solutions proposed are across the hierarchy of controls. So we've shared here those again across the hierarchy. In some circumstances, we actually can't eliminate. So if you think about the look up and live, where we've got power lines, while we work with with the local electrical providers, we can't, we can work to influence, but we can't change. So where we can implement solutions that eliminate the risk, that's what we aim to do. However, in all circumstances, that's not possible. So our teams are looking at the best possible opportunities to minimise or reduce the risk.
Right. And have you got any other metrics that you're willing to share in terms of sort of the footprint of the workforce? Maybe you've got more active people in one particular area, and any insights into that? I'm assuming it will always be a work in progress. You know, you've been doing this for a couple of years. Just some insights into sort of where do you think you are on the journey?
Yeah, look, it is absolutely a journey. We have absolutely not solved the problem. We have certainly come a long way, but we also have a way to go. The question about the footprint, so we were heavily initially only had provisioning centre teams involved. That footprint is now across our organisation, which is again a significant change from where we were. We haven't included in this pack the winners from this year, unfortunately, but we have had network control one at our last WH&S committee meeting, and their change was a change within the network control system that optimizes safety. So, you know, while again we see opportunities across the hierarchy of controls, we do see the culture and the improvements across our teams.
Okay, another couple of questions that are coming through. How is the nomination process done? Is it through an online form?
So what we do is, I think I mentioned it briefly, but we've got a one-slide template that's developed, and it's got a before and an after. So, you know, what were we like before? What did it look like? So a picture to show what that looked like, and one or two sentences or one or two data points, very brief, and the same for after. So then we get to understand and see, I guess, a picture tells 1,000 words. So the team gets to see what that looks like before and after. The WH&S committee then committee member for wherever that nomination came from, present that nomination back to the WH&S committee. And at that point, at that meeting, the committee then hear all of those from their peers, and they then vote on which nomination they would like to win. You know, which nomination do they think is strongest for that month.
Okay. Struck me when you were talking about the defibrillators around sharing. So there's a lot of sites where you have either contractors or you're on a customer site. I guess the temptation is to, you know, share far and wide. You've got to temper that to, well, let's look after our own people first, but yeah, sure, let's leverage the opportunity with others. Is that sort of taking place, those opportunities?
When you say taking place, do you mean sharing sharing the equipment in the field, or do you mean sharing the idea so that our customers might choose to do the same thing, or our partners?
I think mainly the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's absolutely something we share where we can, because at the end of the day, for us, it's about, that particular solution is about saving lives. So we wouldn't hold back on sharing that with our partners in the field and ensuring that everyone has equal access to that.
Okay. And the bottle belts and the hard hat coolers, are they standard off the shelf bits of equipment from your local PPE store? Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
There's probably all sorts of gimmicks that they're happy to sell.
Yeah, yeah. And look, really simple, right? But what it does is it means that, particularly during the summer months when dehydration cases are higher and our teams are welding and working in the hot sun all day long, having that ability to really easily hydrate on the work site without having to walk back to the ute where you're walking through the ballast, over track, up and down the shoulders. You're actually reducing or eliminating, in some cases, that risk as well.
Yeah, I think the likely reality is, well, if people have to walk a long way to get their water, they just won't. We'll make do to the end of the shift, and as you say, in those hot days, dehydration can kick in pretty quickly. Just a couple more questions. I guess what have you and your team reflected on around what you've learned and how you've embedded further learnings for the program?
Yeah, great question, Damien. Look, the more variation we have in other teams being involved, the better the conversation, the better the solutions, and the better outcomes for the business as far as safety. So for example, prior to having network operations within the committee versus post, it's been significantly different, and the level of sharing and the ability for the maintenance teams and operations teams to work together through problems that initially they might think are an operations problem or a maintenance problem has really opened up conversation for our teams, and ultimately driven better outcomes, whether that's with some of the other content at our WH&S meetings where we talk about safety alerts or incidents or actions and so forth. That's something that we've reflected on that has really opened up a door for us and reduced some of the silos that we have.
Okay. Last two questions, I promise. So there's one here: when eliminated work at a height, was quality of work achieved as per ARTC standards? I guess there's potentially the need to compromise work quality outcomes to achieve a better safety outcome, either directly in relation to that question and that particular initiative or any others. What do you have a defined process that you go through around, well, here's the improvement of safety that we see as an opportunity. There might be some impact on quality or even cost of getting the job done.
Yeah, look, those are discussions that we would have with the frontline teams if and when we have those nominations come through. In the event of the Signal extended pole cleaner, that wasn't the case. You'll see from the Signal ladder, it's actually quite difficult anyway to clean that from the ladder location. Having that pole and that ability didn't impact the quality of outcome. Yeah, I'm trying to think of an example. We've had one or two that we've gone back to the team and worked through the problem with them. I can't think of any off the top of my head, to be honest, but where we have that, we go back to the team, we work through the problem with them to be able to solve the other less desired outcomes that might come from the initial solution proposed.
Okay. And last one, what advice would you give to other leaders looking to implement a similar initiative in their organisation?
I would suggest keeping a program as simple as possible, not overcomplicating what it needs to be, and really think about how you are able to change the safety experience of our frontline team members, remembering that they are the team members that understand the problem and will also have the solution. So being able to engage them positively to drive better outcomes for the business is a critical piece to being able to solve and improve the safety culture.
Right, thank you for that. Look, just a couple of reflections. As I said earlier, this initiative is delivering some direct safety benefits based on those initiatives and ideas that come up. But sort of equally valuable, I think, is the building of culture where people are empowered. People are not just empowered to develop solutions, empowered, and I guess a raised expectation to be identifying potential issues and identifying solutions. So look, full marks. I think there's a real multiplier effect of this sort of work. And it made us reflect this morning. We were talking at our team meeting about, well, even with RISSB's products, they are very sound products, but I think there's also the opportunity to sort of highlight within something as transactional as a standard some examples of how that particular product could be contributing, helping build culture and sort of reinforcing where the safety improvements are. Although there's no silver bullets in any of this stuff, it's all lots and lots of 1%ers and lots of passion from people like yourself. So I really appreciate you taking the time to out of your busy workday to come along and share your learnings. There's a great deal of interest, and we wish you well in the future. Thank you so much. And just a reminder, our next webinar is in a fortnight's time on the 16th of July around streamlining the rolling stock approval processes. So this is a, dare I say, a headline issue in rail reform, probably has been for many years, and now lots of attention by governments, NTC and industry, and we think we've initiated some work to deliver a bit of a pathway forward on some of that stuff. So please come along to that one, and thank you again for your time today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.